and 20 assists on 33 battles.
Saturday afternoon hoops in West Lafayette. The calendar has flipped to December, and today at Mackey Arena, a gift, a terrific matchup coming your way. It's the Xavier Musketeers out of the Atlantic 10 taking on Matt Painter's suddenly hot Purdue Boilermakers. Now, Xavier has been a thorn in the side of the entire Big Ten as of late. Xavier winning 4 straight just against Purdue. But Purdue, they still do have the all-time series lead, winning 9 of the first 14 games. The first meeting way back in December of 1935. Glad to have you along for the ride with Dan Bonner. I'm Eric Collins. Dan, let's get started. Take a look at your A-list.
I think we're going to have some intriguing matchups today, and one of them involves Tyrone Johnson. He's a Purdue player, outstanding season so far in a guard's role. He's got to create things, and if Xavier's going to get things done, their sophomore point guard, D. Davis, is the guy who's got to create for them. So be interesting to see how these guys do it.
Tap is won by Purdue. Youngster Anthony Johnson barks out the signal, crosses the timeline. Purdue on the year 3-3, 2 consecutive wins, including one early this week against Clemson. Tyrone Johnson knocks it in.
And Xavier starts in the man-to-man, and that was interesting. Purdue went inside. You would expect that, but they went inside to one of their guards, Tyrone Johnson, who made a nice little move in the post.
Johnson had a nice game a couple of days ago against Clemson, 16 points, off to a nice start here. This is Travis Taylor. Taylor going one-on-one. They have shuffled the shoes, no call, and it's a one-and-done. Rebounded by Purdue. Bird in transition, thinks better of it. This is the same starting 5 that Purdue has had on the floor to begin each of the last 3 games. They found something that they like. Big fella Hammonds, toss over to Tyrone Johnson. Shot clock down to 11. Hammonds faces up, has it stripped away. Johnson contested 3, rattles out.
Very interesting. Xavier has Jeff Robinson, one of their big guys, matched up against DJ Bird out on the perimeter.
Inside first shot of the day, missed by D. Davis, tapped out of bounds. It'll be Purdue basketball. There's Chris Mack, now in his 4th year. He is an alum of Xavier, played basketball back in the early 90s for the Musketeers, and another guy who was an alum coming back to coach at his alma mater, Purdue Boilermaker head coach Matt Painter, now in his 8th season.
Xavier stays in a man-to-man. This time down the court, they've got Justin Martin matched up against Bird, but they got to find Bird every single time.
Johnson misses a little bit short. So far early in this one, every shot taken by Purdue has been by a Johnson, either Tyrone or Anthony. In transition, Semaj Christon, just a freshman, knocks in his first shot.
He's had a tremendous start to his freshman season. He's become one of the key players on this Xavier team.
He's the reigning Atlantic 10 Rookie of the Week for his performance in a tournament out in Anaheim last week. Just getting started here at Mackey Arena. Xavier and Purdue meeting for the 2nd consecutive year.
See how they come out, and that time Travis Taylor came out and just ran DJ Bird off the line.
Little half hook missed by Lawson along the baseline. In transition, ball tapped out of bounds, last touch by Travis Taylor. So Purdue basketball.
Well, let's take a look at our keys to the game for tonight. For Purdue, they've got to have some toughness in transition. They've got to be able to beat Xavier down the court and avoid being beaten down the court. And the free stuff, they've got to get second chance points. They've got to get to the free throw line, keep the Musketeers off the free throw line. And for Xavier, they've got to defend the inside. They have to have a really good interior presence. And they've got to put pressure on Purdue defensively, and that's pretty good pressure right there. You saw the keys for Xavier right there. An interior presence produces a turnover, and then they're able to get it out and run it down the court. Semaj Christon just is quicker to the ball right there and just attacks. What did we talk about? Toughness in transition. Bird wasn't able to get back and defend in transition and picks up the foul.
First foul on DJ Bird. It'll be 2 free throws for Christon. 6'3" freshman from Cincinnati. Christon, one of 5 different starters for Xavier, averaging in double figures. First substitution coming in, Isaiah Philmore replaces Travis Taylor for Xavier. This is a relatively thin Xavier team. All 5 starters from last year's Sweet 16 team are gone. So they have only 9 scholarship players, and one is a former walk-on who's been given a scholarship. So relatively thin.
Relatively thin, relatively young, but Chris Mack really likes this team. He says they play very well together. They pick up things very quickly.
Boilermakers still have their starting 5 on the floor. Ron Johnson has Purdue's only 2. That was on the first possession of the game.
Good defensive pressure so far by Xavier.
Bird, open look. Hits his 3-point attempt, and it's rebounded by Justin Martin.
That was good pressure on Bird. They made him dribble the ball. He doesn't really dribble into the 3 as well as he's a catch-and-shoot 3-point guy.
Dump out for Robinson off the heel.
Robinson is now 2 for 13 on the season shooting threes. I think I would advise him to get closer.
It's kind of a fun game for a couple of these Xavier Musketeers. They've got a whole bunch of Indiana natives. And we've got a block inside. That's going to go against Jeff Robinson, the man we're talking about. Anthony Johnson getting into the paint and drawing the foul.
One of the things that Purdue has to do is they've got to be able to take the ball and drive it into the defense and get to the free throw line. They do not go to the line very much, which is amazing with a team that doesn't really shoot the 3 very well, and they're trying to have an inside-oriented offense. They really don't go to the free throw line very much. And this is what we're talking about on the season. Purdue scores almost 5 fewer points per game from the line than their opponents. On the other hand, Xavier gets better than 8 a game.
Yeah, that's
more
one of
than their opponents.
That was one of the truisms in basketball. If you're that far below what your other team opponent does in terms of shooting free throws, really hard to win a lot of games. Teams that go to the free throw line generally are the ones that are most successful in college basketball. 3 new Boilermakers on the floor. Ronnie Johnson, Donnie Hale, and Sandy Marchuch. So Matt Painter going to his bench. 4 minutes into this one. Davis comes off a screen and knocks in a 3-pointer. Good stroke by the sophomore from Bloomington, Indiana.
Davis shoots better than 52% on the year from beyond the 3-point arc. But that was a tough shot.
Maybe he learned it from Jordan Hulls. They were high school teammates at Bloomington South. Ron Johnson spins over to Hale. Now the substitutes getting their first chance on offense. Travis Carroll is pushed from behind. That's going to be the 2nd foul on Jeff Robinson. Timeout on the floor. D. Davis coming back to his home state, knocking in a triple. Xavier so far up by 5 on Purdue. And it's not going to be an easy afternoon for the Purdue Boilermakers. They're trailing Xavier by a score of 7-2. With my partner Dan Bonner, I am Eric Collins. Glad to have you here. This hasn't been an easy week for Matt Painter's Boilermakers. Clemson a couple of days ago, and now a tough Xavier team.
This is something that I think schools from the bigger conferences don't do nearly enough of, and that is play really high-quality opponents in home games in the non-conference season. This is a really, really good matchup for both of these schools. And it's just something you don't see mostly this time of the year on teams' home courts. You're seeing guarantee games. Not today.
You know, I told you a little bit ago, Purdue, they have lost their last 4 over the last 11 years to these Xavier Musketeers. They actually got knocked out of the NCAA tournament in the 2nd round in 2008 by Xavier. Long 3-pointer, DJ Bird. He's now 0 for 2. Donnie Hale fighting for the loose ball, can't get it. Here come the Musketeers.
Purdue's big guys have to figure out a way to get more involved in the game. The Xavier big people are double teaming every time there's a screen. They're basically leaving the Purdue guys alone. They've got to find a way to get to an open spot and make Xavier pay for that particular defensive strategy.
Off the bench, Isaiah Philmore dips in his first 2 points. Just saw A.J. Hammonds on the bench cooling his heels.
Hammonds is a very, very skilled player, but he's got to get more active, more involved in games. I think it might be a stamina issue with him.
Travis Carroll on the wing. Dump over to Tyrone Johnson. And an offensive rebound. That's something that Purdue has consistently done so far this year. But a turnover. Christon in transition. Up and in. And Matt Painter's seen enough. 6 points for the freshman Christon. And this is now an 11-0 run for Xavier since Purdue scored the game's first 2 points.
Of course, you can't turn the ball over. That's just an errant pass right there. And one of the things you see here is Semaj Christon. He is really good at attacking in transition, particularly when he can go to his right. Just a bad pass, throws it behind Tyrone Johnson. And Semaj Christon, very quick, really a good finisher at the basket. He is a tough guy to handle in that transition situation.
Very first bucket of the game was scored by Tyrone Johnson of Purdue. Ever since that, it's been nothing but Musketeers.
But I think the key has been the Xavier defense. They have really done a nice job. They're chasing DJ Bird everywhere. He has not been able to get an open look. And Purdue was hoping they could get something going on the inside with their big guys, and they simply haven't been able to get the ball in there. How many times has a big guy handled the ball inside?
Well, Matt Painter still looking for that good mix. He's going to reinsert A.J. Hammonds into the game. Rayfeld Davis is going to get his first playing time.
Davis is a guy who attacks.
Hale, left-handed jumper up and in. That snaps a string of almost 6 minutes without any points being scored for Purdue.
It's going to be harder to leave the big guys if they make outside shots.
Brad Redford now into the game, wearing number 12 for Xavier. What do we have? We've got a travel inside on Travis Taylor.
Talked about Purdue and their struggles on offense. Well, one reason is that they're really concentrating down on the inside. You can see nobody really guarding Hale as he catches the ball and hits the jump shot. Taylor, number 4 for Xavier, was down inside helping out against Hammonds.
Dump inside. Hammonds takes his time. He's double teamed. Now the repost. A little half hook inside, and he still can't get anything to fall, but it will stay with Purdue.
Ronnie Johnson out on the perimeter really didn't help him very much. He threw the ball back inside, but when Johnson's guy went down and double-teamed Hammonds, Johnson just stood there. He's got to go find an open spot. Hammonds needs to make that shot.
Little teardrop. Tyrone Johnson. 2 more for him. Now the offense coming a little bit more easily for Purdue.
Game's a lot easier when the ball goes in the basket. It's amazing.
Redford, his first shot. That's what he does. Long 2-pointer for the 5th-year senior. Redford, coming out of high school, was Mr. Basketball in the state of Michigan. Had a steady career with the Musketeers. Another entry pass into Hammonds, and he traveled. Moved the right foot, then moved the left foot. That's the second turnover for Purdue.
Going a little too fast on the inside. He was worried because he saw defensive help coming. And again, that's the guy who threw him the ball, Hale. He's got to recognize when his man leaves to go to help out against Hammonds, Hale has to move so that he can get to an open area. Can't just stand there and watch.
That was a quick time on the floor for Rayfeld Davis. He's replaced by DJ Bird. Christon misses the shot in the paint. 1 and done. Rebounded by Tyrone Johnson. Say this for Purdue. They've got some good rebounding guards. Ronnie Johnson. Nice little shot. He is left-handed. Makes it in the paint.
Nice job the last couple of trips by the Purdue guards. The Johnson brothers driving the ball to the basket.
E. Davis dumped down inside to Taylor. Taylor, short with the left hand. Nice positional defense played by Hammonds. Bird, nowhere to go. Hammonds. Offensive rebound, Ronnie Johnson. Another offensive rebound. And Hale puts it up and in.
That was one of the big fears for Chris Mack and his coaching staff at Xavier that Purdue does such a great job on the offensive board.
Davis loses it, gets it back. Stolen away. Hale with the steal. Ronnie Johnson able to draw the charge. Throw the block. He'll go to the free throw line and shoot a couple of free throws. So all of a sudden, momentum has turned for Purdue. We'll have free throws for the Boilermakers when we come back. State Farm for auto, home, life, and banking. Get to a better state. By Best Buy. And by Chevrolet and its award-winning lineup of cars, trucks, and crossovers. Glad to have you here on an unseasonably warm day in West Lafayette. Purdue on a nice little run. This is a team that's going to have its peaks and valleys when you play so many young players.
There isn't any question about it. And, of course, everybody talks about the fact that Robbie Hummel is now gone. And so Purdue really, it's sort of a changing of the guard. And this is the new guard right here. See, Ronnie Johnson getting an awful lot of minutes. He is not the starter at point guard, but he's the guy who plays most of the minutes at point guard. And I think A.J. Hammond's minutes will increase as the season goes along. He just doesn't appear to be well-conditioned enough right now to play at this tempo and this intensity level.
Ronnie Johnson hits the first. He'll have another. 65% free thrower early in his college career. Makes them both. 4 points off the bench for Ronnie Johnson. Substitution for Purdue. Jay Simpson getting playing time for the first time. Also back on the floor, Anthony Johnson, who's been on the bench for a while for the Boilermakers. Christon loses the handle. Here come the Boilermakers. Johnson to Johnson. Anthony can't finish. We're going to have a basket interference, score the goal, and 2 more points for Purdue.
That ball hit the backboard. And this is, Christian is a little bit better going to his right hand than his left. That ball just slipped out. Excellent pass by Ronnie Johnson. That ball was on the backboard above the rim. You can't slap that one.
Xavier's made a change. This is Eric Stenger with the ball. Stenger, a transfer from Northern Kentucky University. They call him the Stingray. And another turnover. In the corner, Justin Martin just can't hang on.
Purdue really has picked up the defensive intensity, but Xavier's helping them out here. They're dribbling the ball way too much.
5 turnovers for Xavier, just 2 for Purdue. Last year, turnovers were something that Purdue was terrific at. Led the entire country. Just 8 turnovers per game. A lot of those principles involved in that no longer here. Ronnie Johnson getting some space. They were begging him to shoot that three-pointer, and that's why. There are scouting reports out there in the world of Division I basketball.
One of the things that Xavier is talking about during the timeouts and as their guys go by is the Purdue players the last couple of possessions have been able to drive by on the perimeter and get to the basket. And really, Tyrone Johnson and DJ Bird are the only guys who are three-point threats. So don't get so close to those guys. Back off, force them to shoot from the outside, make them prove they can hit it out there.
Purdue playing with the lead for the first time in a while. Redford, quick trigger, a little bit short, and it's rebounded by DJ Bird. As good an offensive rebounding team as the Boilermakers are, they're really not that good of a defensive rebounding team. Kind of an odd mix. This is Simpson with the turnaround.
Simpson is another really skilled big guy on the inside. He broke his foot during the spring. As a result, he wasn't able to work out, put on some weight that he's still trying to lose, but he can do about everything you want from an inside guy in the basketball court.
That was blocked inside. I think DJ Bird got it, and it's going to be Purdue basketball.
This is a situation where it's just poor defense as Simpson is able to get over, catch the ball close to the basket. Nobody comes to help, and if you let a big guy with those kinds of offensive skills catch the ball that close to the basket, don't put any pressure on him, he's going to score just about every time.
Matt Painter making another quick switch. Ronnie Johnson coming back onto the floor. So we're going to have 3 different Johnsons in the game for Purdue. Ronnie Johnson, there he is. Anthony Johnson's going to trigger the inbounds. And Tyrone Johnson is down here on the other baseline.
And now DJ Bird slides over to play the power forward spot, so a very small lineup in the game for Purdue.
This is Bird. Gets his man up in the air. Step in three. Rebounded by Simpson, and he's grabbed. Bodies flying underneath that Purdue basket.
Lots of times when you're working really hard to put pressure on your opponent's perimeter game, you sometimes lose track of your blockout responsibilities inside. And again, Simpson, he's really provided a little bit of spark since he's come in the game. Has scored a basket, now gets that offensive rebound.
Simpson just 1 for 4 at the free throw line early in the season. Dan, I got the big question for you.
No, not already.
How is it possible that Purdue is tops in the Big Ten with 15 offensive rebounds per game, yet they are 8th in the Big Ten in defensive rebounds?
Well, I don't think you can look at strictly numbers, Eric. I think you have to look at the percentage, and Purdue gets back 37% of their own misses, which is a very high offensive rebounding percentage, but their defensive rebounding percentage is 73%, and that's pretty good. The average team gets about 30% of its own misses in offensive rebounds, so Purdue is average or a little bit above as a defensive rebounding team.
You were prepared for a tough question. Davis misses inside, and all of a sudden Xavier just can't do anything right. As poorly as Purdue played in the first 5 minutes, Xavier's doing the exact same thing to allow the Boilermakers to get back up by 4. In transition, Justin Martin, how about that?
And that's been the key. Xavier has not been able to get out in transition. Purdue's rebounded the ball on the offensive end and scoring. Xavier not able to get out and run. This is a really good pass by D. Davis. A nice job by Justin Martin. While Purdue only has a couple of guys who can shoot three, across the board they can shoot three for the Xavier Musketeers. And Martin is one of the guys who can. He shoots 50% on the year from three-point range.
Well, we have a moment. Let's take a look at the State of Success brought to you by State Farm. And did you know, wow, that Xavier hanging out with these heavyweights, North Carolina, Kansas, and Michigan State, in terms of 4 Sweet 16 appearances over the last 5-year window. And
what that means is Chris Mack and the Xavier program have done a really good job reloading from year to year. He didn't do that with all the same guys, and that's the situation with North Carolina and Kansas and Michigan State. It's not just the same guys. You got to be able to fit new guys in on a year-to-year basis. Now, he's got a lot of new guys this year. We're told that last basket was a 2.
So Justin Martin had the toe on the line, so it's a 2-pointer, not a 3.
And that's why they stopped the game, to check it.
So the score on your screen is correct. Boilermakers up by 1. Anthony Johnson over to Ronnie Johnson.
Xavier now in a 2-3 zone.
DJ Bird. And we've got a foul called on A.J. Hammonds. They're going to say he went over the back. So a timeout on the floor. Purdue on a nice little run. They've got themselves a slim 1-point lead.
I'm Larry Clisby. Welcome back to Mackey Arena. We have a good one going here between Xavier and Purdue. Let's throw it back over to Eric and Dan.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Larry Clisby. How about this guy? 30 seasons as the radio voice of the Boilermakers here at Mackey Arena. He's a Boilermaker legend, but he doesn't normally think legend. You think white hair. You think, someone who looks older. This guy looks like he can still run up and down the floor and play for Matt Painter.
Well, this is game number 1038. Get back to me, Eric, when you get to 1038.
They did the winning percentage, Larry Clisby. On his watch, the Boilermakers win 66% of the time. 2 out of 3 of every Boilermaker games that he has seen and done, Purdue has emerged victorious. Congratulations, Larry Clisby. Thanks for helping out, too. All right, Purdue up by 1 on Xavier. Under 8 minutes to play first half. A game of runs. Xavier got out to a nice big lead. And ever since, it's been nothing but Boilermakers.
There's too much dribbling going on for Xavier.
A little bit short from Martin. Another one and done. Today, it seems as if the Boilermakers are really cleaning up all the defensive rebounds.
it's hard to move the defense around to get in position for offensive rebounds. If one guy dribbles it, makes one pass, and you shoot the ball, you got to move the defense around a little bit if you're going to get offensive boards.
E.J. Bird having a hard time getting loose. He's 0 for 4. All 4 of his shots have been from behind the arc. Ronnie Johnson misses the shot, but we're going to have a whistle and a foul called on Xavier.
And one of the things that you see Purdue doing very well is attacking the basket, not settling for that outside jump shot. And again, you have to wonder why Ronnie Johnson is not a great three-point shooter. On the season, his three-point shooting percentage is 10.5%. So why run out at Ronnie Johnson and allow him to drive by you to the basket? You have to understand who you're playing.
Now that foul was called on Jeff Robinson, and that is significant because it is his 3rd foul. Jeff Robinson, one of the senior leaders, double-figure scorer. You'd imagine he's not going to play again until the second half. So Robinson on the bench. Isaiah Philmore replaces him. Taylor sets a screen for Davis, who has a nice little blow-by, but can't convert at the rim. Numbers now for the Boilermakers. Ronnie Johnson cashes in.
One of the things you see Xavier doing at the moment is their offense is helping Purdue's offense. They're being inefficient on the offensive end, taking tough shots, allowing Purdue to get out and run.
Christon off the window. Looked like he jumped up, wanted to pass it. Nobody was open, so he just threw it up off the window and in.
That's the kind of skill that he has. That's a tough shot.
Hammonds has been slow to get started offensively so far today. Davis has it poked away, run down by Lawson. Still plenty of time on the shot clock. Now the shot clock at 5. Someone's going to have to get creative. It's Ronnie Johnson. Man, he hits the deck hard, but he's the one called for the foul. It's a charge on the freshman. First foul on Ronnie Johnson.
A situation where Travis Taylor is just standing there waiting for him. Now there's a new emphasis by the officials this year on that particular play where somebody's coming over to help out against a drive. That defender has to have his defensive position established, both feet on the floor, facing the dribbler before the offensive player leaves the floor. So that's the judgment of the official. And it looked like he was in pretty good position that time, was Travis Taylor.
Anthony Johnson back on for Purdue. He's guarding Christon. Now Davis, again, just swarmed by Boilermaker defenders.
A lot of standing around by Xavier on the offensive end. Taylor is not a jump shooter. I think Purdue would give him that shot every time.
That's the first offensive rebound for Xavier. Taylor. Oh, man, he got thumped. That's a Big Ten foul if I ever saw one. Jacob Lawson going to send him to the free throw line.
Drives to the basket. You see, he drives into the heart of that defense. There's 5 Boilermakers standing in the lane. There was no way he was getting that ball to the basket.
Now, Travis Taylor just found out he's not playing in the Atlantic 10 right now. Welcome to the Big Ten. 2 free throws for you, son. BTN goes where you want, when you want it with BTN to go, presented by Auto Owners Insurance. You can watch live basketball and BTN original programming on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. It's available at no extra charge to subscribers who receive BTN through their cable, satellite, or participating video providers. To learn more, visit btntogo.com. You know, Matt Painter has been, he's taken Ronnie Johnson in, he's taken him out. He's been kind of on a yo-yo all first half. Ronnie Johnson doesn't seem to play more than a minute and a half at any time. Go on the floor, do good things, maybe make a mistake. Painter will take him out, and he'll put him right back in the floor again. Ball poked away, turnover. Xavier's got the ball, down by 1. Hanging in the air and swooping with left hand, Justin Martin. He's been a real surprise.
It seems that the team that's able to get out and play in transition is going to have the most success, because either one of these teams, when they're able to set themselves defensively, they are awfully difficult to attack.
E.J. Bird, once again, bottled up. Hadn't made a shot so far in this first half. Here's a three. He's now 0 for 5 from behind the arc. It's Xavier basketball.
Now, you want to talk about how you play defense right here. Two guys come and guard the ball. Nobody pays any attention to Hammond, but he's not able to control it. So good reaction on defense. Good help defense. They double team the ball, and then the other three guys react very well, tip the ball away.
Good job of officiating. The guys getting together and saying that it's actually Purdue basketball. Well, the Boilermakers have it. And we've got a 5-second violation called on Tyrone Johnson. Couldn't get it in time. When that happens, who's usually to blame?
You mean who's usually to blame? The guys who are supposed to get open who don't. You don't want to throw the ball to somebody who's covered. It's now 5 turnovers for Purdue.
And I think this is going to be a sideline warning. Chris Mack. He's having a hard time communicating with his team on the other end of the floor, and he kind of looks back over the paint crew and says, all right, if you guys are quiet, I'll be quiet. So just a warning. Xavier with the lead and the ball.
The warning was to stay in the coach's room.
Nice shot inside. Christon wanted a three-point opportunity. They don't give it to him. He's now got 10 points. Hammond's deep in the post. Not going to miss him in there.
And that's really the first time they've gotten him the ball deep in the post, and he was patient that time. He didn't panic, despite the fact that he had 3 blue shirts around him. He just used his power and scored inside.
Purdue had played the first 17 minutes without points from Hammonds or Bird. Now Hammonds in the scoring column. Martin has it poked away. Extra pass, and Philmore finishes with a left hand.
Maybe you might want to put that in their offense. Have the defender knock it away and knock it to one of your guys under the basket. See, right now, Hammonds has to have the ball.
They get it to him. Spins away from the double team and knocks it in.
You know, it's an art passing the ball into the post, and Purdue last year in particular didn't have anybody that they were in the post to whom they wanted to pass the ball, and so the guys are just not used to looking in there. But Hammonds, when he is open, he has to have the ball right now because he's going to be covered up very quickly.
Jump shot missed by Taylor.
Taylor should stop shooting jump shots.
Tyrone Johnson out to his brother Ronnie. Gets it back. Christon wants to run at all times, and he's going to be called for the offensive foul. Semaj Christon picks up the personal foul, wipe off the basket. We've got a timeout on the floor. Xavier up by 1, riding their freshman Semaj Christon, who's already got 10 first half points. Big Ten vault, and reminisce about Rick Mount. There have been a lot of wonderful shooters coming out of the state of Indiana. You can make the argument, a lot of old-timers do, that this was the greatest shooter ever. Rick Mount.
I don't know that he was the greatest shooter ever, but he was certainly a heck of a shooter, and it's interesting that he scores all those points. Now, keep in mind, that's in 3 years, not 4 years, because there was not freshman eligibility in those days, and there was no three-point shot. And Rick Mount was not a guy who was scoring those points on layups. Rick Mount was shooting the ball from outside. You know, he's one of those guys, he's up to Pistol Pete Maravich here, and you think about those guys and all the points that they scored. Imagine how many points Pistol Pete would have scored if they'd have had that three-point shot.
Glad to have you along for the ride. This is a nice matchup, and it's been a nicely played first half. Xavier and Purdue from West Lafayette. Dan Bonner, I'm Eric Collins. Xavier at one point was up by 9 here in this first half. Purdue, they regained the lead. At one point up by 4. They are now trailing by a single point. Under 2 minutes to play first half.
One of the problems for Xavier is Pete Davis has not been able to get involved in the game.
There's Davis, didn't want to. Misses everything, and it's going to go back over to Purdue. Stay tuned at the half for the State Farm halftime report. Mike Hall, Tim Doyle, Mike DeCourcy. They'll get you caught up on a busy afternoon around the Big Ten. DJ Bird has not scored, Dan, here in the first half. Hale. Nice shot off the window.
But that's Hale's third basket of the first half, and so he has been a valuable asset for Purdue coming off the bench. And DJ Bird, he's going to have stretches like that. People are going to be all over him as they have been in this game. He's missed a couple of open shots, but you're not going to make them all.
Xavier still playing without Jeff Robinson, who picked up 3 fouls at the 6-minute mark. Shot clock down to 7. Oh, Xavier in trouble. And stepping on the sideline was Martin. It's going to be a turnover, the 7th for the Musketeers.
Now, Donnie Hale is a guy who came in for Purdue. They really expected big things from him. Started the first couple of games, but we've seen him hit a jump shot. We've seen him score on an offensive rebound, and now a nice little drive to the basket.
Eddie Simpson hands it off to Johnson. I'll try and get Simpson loose inside. His pass knocked away, and Hale can't run it down. Shot clock is off. Xavier can hold it for the final shot if they so choose. Gets his man up in the air and then throws it away. Saved by Philmore. And Philmore throws it up, hits the side of the backboard. And it's finally cleared by Tyrone Johnson. Boilermakers are going to have to hurry. And we've got a foul at half court. We've got a little bit of a push right at half court, and that's going to be the 7th team foul on Xavier. And Tyrone Johnson's going to shoot a 1-and-1.
Boy, that is not a good play at all by Justin Martin. I mean, that's right in front of the referee. They're never going to let you get away with that.
1-and-1. Johnson hits the first. He's much improved this year at the free throw line. Bonus points handed over to Purdue. This is going to finish off our first half. Semaj Christon can't hit it from about 35 feet. So the Boilermakers in an up and down first half. They head to the locker room with a 3-point lead. All right, 20 minutes in the books. Now let's send it back to our Big Ten Network studios in the State Farm halftime report. December afternoon here in central Indiana, north central Indiana. We're in West Lafayette. Purdue and Xavier at the half. Purdue on top by 3 points over the Musketeers. Dan Bonner, I'm Eric Collins. As warm as it is outside, Dan, kind of chilly here inside. Neither team's offense really heating up in the first half.
Neither team's offense is really heated up in the first half, but I think you have to give some credit to each team's defense. I think both teams were very effective on the defensive end in the first half. The only real time teams got going was when they were able to get going in transition.
Yeah, there were some highlights to let you see from our first half.
Well, early in the game, Xavier got off really well, and Semaj Christon, an outstanding freshman guard for Xavier. He's been able to get the ball to the basket and score effectively, although when you're making shots that are that tough, it generally bodes ill for your entire offensive play. Ronnie Johnson came off the bench, started taking the ball to the basket, both in the half-court situation and in transition. He scored 8 points off the bench, and I thought that was really a big boost for the Purdue Boilermakers.
Today's first half stats are brought to you by Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry.
And as you mentioned, field goal shooting percentage not very high, and that's a big advantage for Purdue. Xavier comes in shooting almost 52%. Purdue hasn't made any threes. Purdue has been able to get to the free throw line, and look at those bench points.
Well, before tonight's Big Ten football championship game, Dave Rebson and the gang, they are live from Indianapolis as they set the scene for Nebraska and Wisconsin. You'll hear from both coaches and take a can't-miss look at the images of the year. That's tonight, 6:30 Eastern Time, presented by Auto Owners Insurance, only on BTN. We'll take a quick timeout when we come back. The second half coming your way. Xavier and Purdue. A good one here at Mackey Arena. BTN Basketball is brought to you by GMC. It's the GMC holiday event. Get yours with all the trimmings. By Verizon, more 4G LTE coverage than all other networks combined. And by Country Mark, get more per gallon. Welcome back, everyone. Purdue up by 3, getting ready to start our second half. Before we do, Dan Biner, let's take another look at your A-list.
One of the problems for Xavier in the game is D. Davis hasn't been on that A-list so far in the first half. Davis comes in as the leading scorer, averaging better than 14 points a game, shooting over 56% from the field. He had a very tough first half. Tyrone Johnson, he does just about what Tyrone Johnson does. A couple of field goals, a couple of rebounds, a couple of assists. And I think with Tyrone Johnson, he's an outstanding defensive player, and his defensive effort today has really been exemplary.
Change beginning the second half. Instead of starting Jeff Robinson, the senior from Indianapolis, he had 3 first-half fouls. Xavier starts with Isaiah Philmore in the game, and it is Philmore who loses the handle inside and gives the ball back over to Purdue.
Philmore lost his balance in there just as the pass was being made, and so there's very little way for him to control that ball. But that was a good idea by Xavier. Not quite so much dribbling. Purdue's done a great job guarding the basketball, but it's easier to guard the basketball when it's just being dribbled.
Anthony Johnson, little runner inside, tapped up and in. A.J. Hammonds. Hammonds now with 6 points to go along with a couple of rebounds. This is now equaling the largest lead for Purdue. They're up by 5. Trying to get Davis loose. Wide left. Tyrone Johnson on the run. It's a 4-on-3. And now Purdue will have to set up the offense. Hammonds with bump, lost the handle. He wanted a whistle. 4-on-2. Martin in transition.
That's a great job being under control by Martin. Lots of times you'd see a guy just put his head down and try to take it to the basket, but Martin recognized the defender, DJ Bird, was in great position, hit the pull-up jump shot.
Justin Martin from Lawrence North in Indianapolis having a nice game offensively. Shot clock down to 8. Johnson goes one-on-one into a crowd, and it's going to be Xavier basketball. Christon just got mugged, makes the shot, and have a chance for a 3-point play.
Christian is so explosive in transition. He just catches the ball, little hesitation dribble, and then just goes right by Anthony Johnson. Wow.
Good strength for a guy listed at just 187 pounds. To absorb the foul, make the bucket, and have a chance for a 3-point play. Jacob Lawson going to go to the bench, replaced by Donnie Hale.
See Christian with 5 of 6 field goals, and his field goals, they've been close because he's been driving the ball to the basket, but they have not been easy shots. He's made some tough shots.
Reigning Atlantic 10 Rookie of the Week with his performance out in Anaheim over Thanksgiving. Nice cut to the basket, but Hale can't make the swooping layup. Offensive rebound, and it's stolen away. Martin is fouled, and he converts the layup. That's a bad foul. Tyrone Johnson reaching out and grabbing Justin Martin.
He's very fortunate that he did not get called for the old intentional foul, because he comes very close to wrapping his arms right there. But that's a situation, that whole play started because Donnie Hale tried to make a tough shot. He needs to go and dunk that ball rather than try to go underneath the basket. And they looked like Purdue had a great opportunity.
Justin Martin continues his solid afternoon. The lead is 3 for the Musketeers.
And here's Xavier pulling away at the start of the second half as they did at the start of the game.
8 unanswered points for Xavier. Lefty jumper, Hale. Lots to like with this kid.
Hale has really been able to make Xavier pay for bringing their big guys out on the perimeter people. He's done a nice job stepping into open areas.
A long two-pointer with DJ Bird up right on top of him.
And Martin with a big grin on his face as he goes down the court. You can tell why. He's not only a good three-point shooter, Eric. I think Martin has an excellent mid-range game, including the mid-range game off the dribble, which is pretty tough.
A little mid-range right there. Teardrop. Tyrone Johnson gets 2 back for the Boilers.
That's where Purdue has had their most success, driving the ball into the lane from the perimeter. Really haven't gotten a whole lot in terms of back-to-the-basket power points.
Taylor left alone. They're just daring him to shoot it, and he won't do it.
Which is a good idea.
Philmore will, though. Rebounded by Hammonds. And what do we have? We're going to have a foul right at midcourt, well before the shot. And they're going to call it on Xavier. Foul called on Justin Martin.
Well, again, Martin committed a foul like that just before the end of the first half, and now that's a foul you just never want to commit. He was 75 feet from the basket, had no chance to get that ball.
Those are the only 2 fouls committed by Martin, and both of them have come at midcourt. Johnson scored the goal, and he's fouled. He's always had that real good Big Ten body, and he's converting now in his junior year.
Well, it's a Big Ten body that he can convert. One of the assistant coaches calls him the bread truck because of his build. But the key there was his quick first step, getting away from Semaj Christon. And that's one thing Xavier hasn't really done very well, helping out against those penetrating guards. They're very concerned about the inside players. The guards have hurt them.
For Tyrone Johnson, and Purdue back up by 2. Xavier continues to play without Jeff Robinson. One of their starters averages double figures. Hadn't played at all here, Dan, in the second half.
Well, he's got those 3 fouls, and Chris Mack, I'm sure, wants to put it in, but just doesn't feel like he can at the moment.
Davis misses, stolen away by Christon. And then we're going to have a foul called on DJ Bird. Timeout on the floor. Tyrone Johnson has had a wonderful start to the second half. Tyrone Johnson is making sure that Purdue stays on top. They're up by a pair. Lead changes. Right now the home team up by 2. Purdue 38, Xavier 36, and we're just getting started here in the Big Ten Network. Our full day of hoops continues. Next one, Aaron Craft and the Buckeyes square off against Northern Kentucky. And then how about the #1 ranked team in the country, the Indiana Hoosiers, led by Cody Zeller and Victor Oladipo. They're going to take on Coppin State. That game at 7:30 Eastern Time, only on BTN. Triggers the inbound. Over to the freshman Christon, who loses the handle. Davis averaging 14 points per game. He has really been limited so far. He shot just 2 points. And we've got what? Score the goal and a chance for the 3-point play for Philmore.
As opposed to what you saw for long stretches of the first half, Xavier's offense that time moved the ball from side to side. The players moved, so the defenders had to move. It wasn't quite as easy to guard the ball, and the result is a really nice play by Philmore, getting an opportunity on the inside, although he doesn't convert the three-point play.
And they can't give Xavier the lead. It's a 38-38 tie. Third time we've been knotted up. Johnson working up high against Eric Stenger. And now Hale along the baseline. The lead for Simpson.
Really good job by DJ Bird to find Redford in transition.
Christon was pushed a little bit. No whistle. And we've got a foul inside. I think it's going to go against Isaiah Philmore.
Now, just because we've seen Christon make tough shots, Eric, does not mean that it's a good idea to continue to take them. That was a very difficult play. It was early in the shot clock. Xavier's offense needs to do more of what they did in the last possession, and that is get a bunch of people touches, get the ball moved from side to side.
Travis Carroll back into the game for Purdue. This is DJ Bird. He is now 0 for 6 in the game. All 6 of his shots have been from behind the arc. Offensive rebound. Tyrone Johnson, no. Carroll is grabbed.
Now this is just dominance on the inside by the big guys. Hale first just takes it away from Stenger, and then one of the things that the Purdue guards do very well is rebound the ball, and Tyrone Johnson gets the rebound, and Carroll, as he's cleaning it up, gets fouled. But the key there was just inside power. They just kept going after it.
Look at this. Coming back into the game, trying to stop the bleeding on that glass. Jeff Robinson, he starts, averages close to 12 points per game, but we haven't seen him since about the 7-minute mark of the first half. He's got 3 fouls on him. This is Robinson triggering the inbounds. Lead is 2 for Purdue. Guarded by Bird. Philmore left alone. There's a reason for that. Tyrone Johnson spits it back out. Bird. Lefty jumper Hale. And it's going to be Xavier ball. Dan, can Purdue win without getting any offense at all from DJ Bird?
I think definitely they can, because what DJ Bird gives them, Bird is not a guy who's going to drive the ball to the basket. He's not a guy who's going to dribble the ball. He is a three-point shooter, so obviously he scored points other than from the three-point line, but they're getting drives to the basket, they're getting offensive rebounds. So the answer is yes, it's much more difficult to win without Bird scoring, but it certainly can be done.
Bird coming off a real nice game a couple of days ago against Clemson, scoring 22 points, making 6 3-pointers. And Purdue winning, going away on the road against Clemson.
Keep in mind that DJ Bird's biggest games generally have been on the road. You know, he makes, what did he make, 7 3-point baskets at Ohio State last year. So his three-point numbers, his most impressive three-point numbers, have been on the road rather than at home.
Anthony Johnson whistled for his second personal foul.
He's just grabbing him, and you can understand why you want to grab Redford. He's one of the country's great three-point shooters, but not in front of the referee.
Semaj Christon going one-on-one again. Nice feed inside. Philmore for 2.
That was a very good decision that time by Christon. We've seen him try to take the ball all the way to the basket in tough situations. That time he drew the defense, found an open man.
Look at Johnson get inside and finish. How creative is this guy? Split a double team, got in the paint, and threw it up and in.
I don't know how he did that, how he got through.
And make him crafty at North Central High. Xavier down 2. Redford, top of the key. Shot clock down to 9. Has it poked away. Philmore loses it out of bounds. Purdue basketball.
Purdue's defense against the ball handlers has just been outstanding. That time, right at the end of the shot clock, they lose the ball, slips away from first D. Davis and then from Philmore. And D. Davis, 6 feet tall, that's what they list him at. I'd be surprised if he was 6 feet tall. 160 pounds, and he's just been dominated by bigger, stronger guards for Purdue today.
A.J. Hammond's back on the floor. He's got 6 points and 5 rebounds. And the basketball, working against Philmore. Elbow jumper. Almost an offensive rebound by Ronnie Johnson. Instead, it's Xavier ball. Johnson called for reaching in on Philmore. Today's Rising Key Connections. Take a look at it.
Semaj Christon drives into the lane and finds Philmore. Travis Carroll, he comes off Philmore but doesn't really help out against Christon, and that gives Christon a lane that he spies and makes a nice pass.
Christon averaging 6 assists per game. He's got 4. Robinson. His first shot in about an hour's worth of real time. Clanks one top of the key.
That's his second shot of the game. They've both been three-pointers. He's missed them both. Now he's 2 for 14 of the season from 3. I would give him the same advice I gave him in the first half. Get closer.
Timeout on the floor. Anthony Johnson was just fouled a moment ago. 2-point lead. Purdue on top of Xavier.
And let's take a look at some news and notes from around college basketball. 5 teams from the Big Ten ranked in the top 25 of the coaches poll. Maybe the most surprising is Illinois. Indiana certainly living up to everybody's expectations early. The ACC Big Ten Challenge is done. A 6-6 split, so the Big Ten will keep the Commissioner's Cup since based on the fact that they won the previous seasons. And as conference realignment continues, first Maryland left the ACC to join the Big Ten. Now Louisville leaves the Big East to join the ACC. So, and speaking of people leaving to join something else, here Jeff Robinson, number 21. Coaches say move your feet. Well, he doesn't move his feet, does not get in position, picks up his 4th personal foul, so he is leaving the court to go back to the bench.
And that's a big deal, folks. Jeff Robinson, a senior from Indianapolis, guy averaging close to 12 points, over 5 rebounds. He's one of the few guys with experience playing in Chris Mack's system for a couple of years. And he's going to be sitting on the bench for a while, you'd imagine.
No points today, only a couple of rebounds.
Anthony Johnson hits the first free throw. He'll have another.
We talked earlier in the game about the fact that Purdue needed to do a better job getting to the free throw line, and they have done that today. They have really done a nice job driving the ball, putting themselves in situations where they can't be fouled, and then converting the free throws.
Anthony Johnson now with 4 points. Lead is back up to 4 for the Boilermakers. Their high water mark has been 5. Did that once in the first half and once here in the second half. Taylor faces up on the 7-footer Hammond. Swooping left-handed shot. Wow, where'd that come from? 4 points now for Taylor.
Taylor certainly has a quickness advantage, and that's what he's going to have to use because Hammond is just able to push him off the block. Taylor is not an outside jump shooter, so he has to find ways to score close to the basket.
Skip pass, the ball ends up in the hands of Ronnie Johnson over to his brother Tyrone. Offensive rebound. Second time today we've seen a Boilermaker lineup with 3 Johnsons on it. Ronnie, Tyrone, and Anthony. Hammond has it ripped away. Davis on the run up. Nothing falling right now for D. Davis.
That was too tough a play. It was a 3-on-1 break, not very well executed by Xavier.
Before the shot, we've got a whistle and a foul.
Hammonds doesn't recognize the fact that guys are coming over, and if you're 7 feet tall and listed at 260 pounds or whatever that is, 280 pounds, you've got to be stronger with the ball than that. You can't let people come by and slap it out of your hands.
That's the first foul called on D. Davis.
Ronnie Johnson just went right by him on the perimeter. Davis just having a very, very difficult afternoon.
1 for 8 from the field for a guy who's averaging a team-high 14 points per game. Xavier basketball and some miscommunication there.
Well, that was very interesting. There was an awful lot of guys banging into one another, falling down on the floor. It ends up that Xavier gets the ball.
It's 11 turnovers now for Purdue. Redford inside. Good strength, fifth-year senior, 4 points now.
It's only Redford's third 2-point field goal of the season, so he's not a guy that you generally worry about him driving to the basket.
Anthony Johnson with the miss. Chance to take the lead for Xavier. And we've got an illegal screen.
Redford is a guy who shoots 3-point baskets, and on this particular occasion, he just drives right by Ronnie Johnson. Johnson never gets in front of him, and even though you don't expect him to drive to the basket, if he puts the ball down, you got to get between he and the goal.
Legal screen set by Semaj Christon, his second foul. Donnie Hale back into the game for Purdue. This is Hale on the wing. Purdue playing with 3 freshmen on the floor right now. This is winning time. They're going young. Offensive rebound. Johnson gets it back up to Bird.
A couple of trips now in consecutive occasions where Purdue has been able to claim that long offensive rebound off a 3-point shot.
Xavier spending a long time playing defense here. Finger roll, love it in. Teron Johnson. Johnson now with 15.
That's a great job moving the ball from side to side, and after the defense gets out of position to attack off the dribble when the guys who are normally there to help aren't in great spots.
Taylor faces up, throws a wild shot off the backboard, no good. Purdue with the lead in the ball. Bird still silent offensively. The big fella, shot inside.
He floated away from the basket a little bit that time. He's got to use his bulk to go to the goal.
Closing in on the 8-minute mark of this one. Christon was bumped, scored the goal, and the foul. That's how you attack the rim with the shot clock winding down.
Christon has a remarkable ability to create space for himself and make difficult shots. That's one of those occasions where Hale, you can't make contact in that situation.
First foul on Donnie Hale. 1 free throw for Christon. Looks good at the line, too. Xavier's only loss on the year was against the University of Pacific. They're 5-1. Boilermakers have won 2 consecutive, most impressively just a couple of days ago, knocking off Clemson in Clemson, South Carolina.
Xavier now back into his zone.
Lefty jumper Hale, too strong. Rebounded by Philmore.
That was a good shot by Purdue. They did a nice job showing patience against that 1-3-1 matchup look.
Face-up jumper, Taylor, too strong, out of bounds. Basketball. All right, coming on the wire, 7:18 left to play. Xavier on the road, up by 1 on Purdue. By State Farm for auto, home, life, and banking. Get to a better state. By Jared, the Galleria of Jewelry, with 5 times the selection of ordinary jewelry stores. And by the Enlist Weed Control System from Dow AgroSciences. Learn more at enlist.com. 7:18 left to play in this one. Xavier up by 1 over Purdue. Let's take a look at today's Reese's Perfect Combination.
And this has been a pretty good combination for a long time. The Johnson brothers. Tyrone has on the left has had an excellent game. 8 rebounds from his guard position. And Ronnie Johnson, all 8 of those points for Ronnie Johnson came in the first half. And he was really a big spark for Purdue in that half. Ronnie Johnson has only attempted 1 shot thus far in the second half. But Tyrone Johnson has done a great job attacking the basket on offense and rebounding the ball on defense.
There are just 7 sets of brothers on the same team in Division I basketball this year. Boilermakers very happy with Tyrone and Ronnie Johnson. They're both on the floor with DJ Bird, AJ Hammonds, and Donnie Hale. Little shot in traffic, no good, missed by Ronnie Johnson on the floor. Philmore tied up with Hale. Possession arrow keeps it with Purdue.
Again, great battle on the inside by Purdue. And one of the reasons that Xavier switches to his zone is they're trying to cut down on that dribble penetration, but Ronnie Johnson nonetheless gets dribble penetration. And whether you're playing against a man-to-man or a zone, if you can get the ball to the basket with the dribble, force the defense to come and help out, you put yourself in great position for offensive rebounds.
Purdue offensive rebound. That's just what they do. They're tops in the Big Ten in offensive rebounding, averaging 15 per game. Hammonds going to work. Bird. He's now 0 for 7 from the field. All of his shots have been three-pointers.
And that was a long three-point shot.
Screens. Martin. Rebounded by Hammonds.
Boy, just nothing easy against this Purdue defense.
Oh, Hale was open for a moment, chose not to shoot the basketball.
Xavier back to the man-to-man.
Step-in jumper. Long two-pointer. Too strong for Hale.
Well, Hale's reputation is as a guy who can shoot that jump shot. He had good success with it in the first half, not here in the second.
And Xavier continues to play without D. Davis and Jeff Robinson, 2 very important parts on this year's team so far through their first 6 games. Robinson in foul trouble with 4, and Davis just not really effective. Redford left open for a whisper, and he makes the Boilermakers pay.
Boy, you know, DJ Bird chased him very effectively all the way around the court and just got hung up on that last screen. That is a great job by Redford to keep working his way off the screens.
Well, Matt Painter calls a timeout. He needs to find some offense. His Boilermakers have made just 2 of their last 16 shots. Brad Redford has given Xavier a 4-point lead.
Xavier has jumped to a 4-point lead, and one of the reasons is Brad Redford, number 12, on the right-hand corner of your screen. Watch as he cuts through the lane. And watch Hammonds for Purdue, number 20. He sort of gets out of the way of DJ Bird, but doesn't help DJ Bird stepping out there. Bird got picked off by number 4, Travis Taylor. That's the man that Hammonds is guarding. Hammonds has to get out there and help out. So with that three-point basket, we'll make Brad Redford our Motel 6 sixth man of the game.
Came in averaging 7 points per game. He's got 7 off the bench for Chris Mack and the Xavier Musketeers. 5:09 left to play in this one. Purdue, they're in danger of losing 5 consecutive games to Xavier.
Xavier now drops back into the zone.
Anthony Johnson swings it over to DJ Bird. Still hasn't scored so far. Someone's going to have to fire. 6 on the shot clock. Ronnie Johnson short. Hammonds going for the rebound. He is grabbed. Foul called on Isaiah Philmore.
That was a nice job by Hammonds, just continuing to move inside. He was in great position, and the ball came right down to him. But that didn't matter. He got good position in there, and had that ball bounced up off the rim instead of down from the rim, he would have had an easy tip in. As it is, he gets to go to the free throw line.
You know what? I was wrong. I thought the original call was on Isaiah Philmore. Instead, it's on Justin Martin, and that's a huge deal because it's the 4th foul on Martin. So he has to go to the bench for Xavier along with Jeff Robinson, who also has 4 fouls.
Well, now you've got a very small lineup out there for Xavier. They're going with 3 guards, Davis, Redford, and Christian.
D. Davis back on the floor. He's got the ball. He has made just 1 shot today. It was a 3. This is a guy who averages 14 points per game and is off to a terrific start in this Xavier offense.
Wasn't that 3-point basket? Weren't they the first 3 points of the game for Xavier? I think it was the first basket of the game.
We've got a tie-up, and it's going to stay with Xavier.
Again, Purdue just doing a great job guarding the ball. Here, Philmore picks up his dribble, and DJ Bird is all over it. Good help by Anthony Johnson.
With the tie-up, shot clock does not reset. It's down to 5. Christon so quick with that handle. He's going to be called for the offensive foul. Do they score the goal first?
Let's see. Yes, they're going to count the basket.
So the bucket scores 2 more for Xavier, but the foul called on Christon.
Well, again, on that, the official ruling that the ball left the hands of the shooter before the contact occurred. And one of the things that Christon is going to have to learn, as well as he drives the ball to the basket, that's what people are going to do. They're going to step in to draw the foul. In that situation, he's got to learn to do a nice little pull-up jumper there.
So we'll come the other way and shoot a 1-and-1. DJ Bird looking for his first points, and he's still in an album.
You know, that's the 3rd foul on Semaj Christon. So they've got Christian with 3, Martin with 4, Robinson with 4. The foul's really starting to add up here. Might be in the last 4 minutes of adventure for Xavier.
Taylor working against Hammonds. Got bumped, no call. Elbow jumper, Christon, no. Rebounded by the big fella Hammond. Ronnie Johnson so quick, maybe too quick, out of control, and it's Xavier ball once again.
He's been making those shots earlier in the game. I think I'd take that one.
And Chris Mack calls a timeout for Xavier. 3:28 left to play. Xavier on the road, leading Matt Painter's Purdue Boilermaker team by a half dozen.
We've seen some pretty good performances by freshmen in the game today, specifically Semaj Christon. And let's talk about some freshmen that maybe weren't as highly touted as some others. And in my mind, one of the leaders on that list is Semaj Christon. He comes in. Everybody was worried about what they were going to do in the backcourt for Xavier, given the losses. But Christon has stepped in and has had a very, very good season. Here we talk about Christon averaging 14 points a game. Gerard Stiggers from Houston shoots almost 50% from beyond the three-point arc. He's somebody nobody was talking about. He's a redshirt freshman. And Rashid Suleiman from Duke. You say, well, how can a Duke guy be a stealth guy? But if you go back and you look at the list of all the top freshmen, he appears on very few of the lists. And the list that he appears on, he doesn't make it very high up the list, but he's been a real key for a great, great start to this season by the Duke Blue Devils.
18 points for the man you're talking about, Semaj Christon, reigning Atlantic 10 Player of the Week. Interior pass. Taylor loses the handle. Purdue's got the ball. Down by 6, running out of time. Tyrone Johnson scored the goal, and he's fouled.
Once again, he just overpowers D. Davis, takes the ball to the basket.
17 points now for Johnson. He's got a chance for 18 at the free throw line when we come back. Purdue needing a little bit of momentum. Maybe they've got it now, down by 4. Mike, thank you so much. Purdue running out of time here. 3:10 remaining. They're down by 4. Dan Bonner, I'm Eric Collins. This is a Purdue team that's trying to build on just such an important win for them a couple of days ago against Clemson and really struggling right now.
Well, one of the reasons they're struggling, and we've pointed it out a couple times, you've been all over it, is they haven't made any three-point baskets. They're 0 for 15 from beyond the arc today. And in this day and age in college basketball, when you play a quality opponent, it's hard to win if you don't make any threes. And that's the situation Purdue finds themselves in right now.
Well, you got a chance for an old-school three-pointer right now. Tyrone Johnson made a layup a moment ago right before our last break and was fouled. So he's got a free throw coming right here, trying to make it a 3-point game.
Purdue has now missed 3 consecutive free throws. We talked earlier in the game about how they did a great job getting to the line. They'd made 10 in a row at one point, but they missed their last 3.
Purdue dead last so far early in the year in the Big Ten in free throw percentage, just 65%. Davis. Christon. Wow,
that's big.
A little bit of everything. Semaj Christon, just his second three-pointer made all year.
That is a big, big basket. And now Purdue's got to get going quickly.
Dump down. Ronnie Johnson finds Lawson. Looked like he got whacked in the head. No call, but 2 more points for the Boilermakers. That was somewhat of a rarity, Dan. That was a made shot for Purdue on an assist. Most of the shots today for the Boilermakers had been unassisted. And a timeout called by Chris Mack. Didn't like the way that possession was beginning for the Musketeers.
We've been talking all game long about Semaj Christon, and this is just a situation where he's standing out beyond the three-point line. The defense collapses. And I think if you're going to give somebody on that team a three-point shot, he might be one of the guys. You mentioned now he's 2 for 7 on the year shooting threes. But he is so dangerous driving the ball to the basket. Good ball movement, though, by Xavier.
We've been watching him all afternoon long, and I look down and see he's listed at 6'3". Doesn't he play like he's 6'5", 6'6", with those long arms and his way to get inside?
Well, he's got a great first step, and even though he doesn't look like he's a big bulked-up guy, he's very, very strong. He can get past his defender and then force his way through a crowd on the inside and use that strength to score.
Still have 2 minutes and 11 seconds left in this one. More basketball after our game. It's going to be Northern Kentucky taking on Ohio State. And then we've got Coppin State and the top-ranked team in the land, Tom Crean's Indiana Hoosiers. That is at 7:30 Eastern Time only on BTN. And for you football fans, there's a ton of you out there. The Big Ten Championship pregame show presented by Auto Owners Insurance. Dave Redson and the entire crew. They're going to take the show on the road. They're live from Indy as they set the scene for Nebraska and Wisconsin. You can hear from both coaches and take a can't-miss look at the images of the year. That's tonight at 6:30 Eastern, presented by Auto Owners Insurance.
Another key has been Xavier's ability to handle the ball. The Purdue defense in the first half forced 7 turnovers. Xavier's only turned the ball over 3 times in the second half. And that has really helped because Purdue hasn't been able to get out and run in transition. One of the reasons why the Boilermakers are shooting under 30% from the field in the second half.
Truncated shot clock. It's down to 12. Justin Martin back on the floor playing with 4 fouls for Xavier. Davis is going to have to create. Doesn't want the screen. Takes it one-on-one. Wild shot. And it's going to be Purdue basketball after the shot clock violation. All right, where does the offense come from for Purdue?
I think what you have to do is get the ball, take it to the basket, and either by throwing it inside to your big guys or by driving the ball in. But you've got to get some ball movement and player movement and attack the basket.
The fact that you haven't made a three-pointer today, you're 0 for 15 as a team for Purdue, does that preclude drawing up a play for a long-range shot?
Absolutely not. I think Matt Painter would be totally confident in drawing up a three-point shot for DJ Bird. Bird has missed all his three-point attempts today, 0 for 7, but Bird is a guy who could make 7 in a row. The problem with Bird is you saw that sign where people said they were Bird watchers. Well, Xavier's been Bird watchers all day.
Tyrone Johnson was bumped, and he'll go to the free throw line. This is the double bonus now, so it'll be 2 free throws for Johnson.
Important thing now, of course, we just mentioned they've missed their last 3 free throws. You do a great job getting to the line. Now you have to convert from the line. And there's still a lot of time left in the game. There's really been some offensive struggles for Purdue, particularly in the second half, but there have not been defensive struggles.
The Boilermakers are getting there more frequently than Xavier. Both free throws good for the junior Johnson.
Run the clock down this far. You do not want to commit a foul.
Philmore. Rebounded by Johnson.
Don't need to be in a rush.
Lawson, nowhere to go, travels.
See, that's a mistake by Tyrone Johnson. You cannot give Lawson the ball out there. Lawson is trying to run down the court and get in position inside, and here he gets surprised by the ball, and he just travels. He's not used to handling the ball out there. You just cannot give him that ball in that spot.
And now Xavier just going to bleed some clock if Purdue lets them. Chris Mack calls a timeout to go over strategy.
One of the problems for Purdue is you look up and down the stat sheet for Xavier and you say, okay, who are we going to foul? It's a one-on-one situation on the common foul because it would only be the 8th foul of the half for Purdue. But who do you foul? You look up and down that list and there's 81%, 83%, 75%, 87%.
Well, it's been an entertaining game. With under a minute left to play, these are the important numbers. Timeouts, Purdue's got 3 of them. Xavier's got 1. Purdue 17 fouls, Dan, as you mentioned just a moment ago. So it's going to be a one-on-one situation on the next foul committed by Purdue. Next time Xavier commits a foul, it's 2 free throws the rest of the way. Possession arrow, should there be a tie-up, goes to the Boilermakers.
If you decide you want to foul somebody, the worst free throw shooter out on the court for Xavier is number 4, Travis Taylor at 66%. But you've got plenty of time to play good defense without fouling. Now you for sure don't want to foul.
Mismatch. Christon takes advantage of Lawson, can't score, but he creates an opportunity for Taylor to offensive rebound it and put it back in. That was all created because of a mismatch that Semaj Christon noticed.
Christon drives the ball to the basket. They force the switch, and now Lawson's got to guard him, and nobody comes to pick up Lawson. Again, Hammonds is in there, and watch Hammonds. He's just behind the play, never gets himself into the play. He's got to drop down and pick up number 4, Taylor, and he doesn't do it. That's a huge play for Xavier. We've been talking about Xavier, and I think that's only their 3rd offensive rebound of the game, but it comes at a huge time. Well, now if you're Purdue, you don't have to take the three-point shot right here, but you've got to get the ball in the basket quickly, and then you have to foul. You don't have time now to worry about whether or not, about who you're going to put on the free throw line, about what their percentages are. You've got to get a score, and then if you don't get an immediate steal, you've got to get a foul.
Northern Kentucky, Ohio State coming up immediately following our game later tonight. The top-ranked team in the country, the Indiana Hoosiers, hosting Coppin State. But still, 36 ticks left in this one. Purdue needing a bucket, down by 5.
And what we expected to be a really good non-conference matchup has turned out to be a really good non-conference matchup.
Bird, quick trigger, still can't find anything. He is 0 for 8 today and has to commit the foul.
That was a good shot. Those are the kind of shots that we've seen DJ Bird make many, many times. This is a very good look. They're trying to get out on him, but he's got time to catch the ball, set his feet.
What does that tell you about Matt Painter? Draws up a play for a guy who has not scored so far today. That's the level of trust and belief he has in DJ Bird.
But he knows Bird is a shooter. Guys can go out and get this 12 in a row and then start knocking him down.
All right, this is a 1-and-1. What doesn't he do well? Semaj Christon, just a freshman.
75% shooter from the line. What a game, huh?
Xavier really thought they were going to miss 2 Holloway. Maybe not. Lonnie Johnson absorbs a bump, scores the bucket, and a chance for the 3-point play. So if you can't do it from behind the arc, you might as well attack the rim.
Well, that is the last thing you want to do if you're Xavier, is commit that foul. That was Isaiah Philmore. In that situation, if you're worried about fouling, just get out of the way. The one thing you can't do is give him an opportunity for a 3-point play. Again, he just attacks the basket. Now, you've been talking about that Big Ten championship football game. That'd be okay in that game, where when the guy has the ball, you're trying to hit him, but not in this game.
Johnson family, they've got similar ideas. Go as hard as you can right to the cup. Offensive rebound, Lawson poked away, he's fouled. And I think that's going to be it. Justin Martin has just fouled out. He's actually lucky he didn't get a technical foul for his troubles.
Martin did react after the foul, but that's his 5th foul, and I think it's a good job by the officials to,
look the other way.
Well, I mean, there's emotions involved in this game, and you don't want something egregious. You don't let that go. But he just stomped his foot, so there's no reason to call a technical foul on it. Although the people here in Mackey Arena would really have liked that. But now again, the key becomes they get another opportunity from the free throw line. Can they make free throws? I think it's Lawson who's going to the line. He's only attempted 2 free throws all year. He's made both of them.
Last year, a different story, though, for Jacob Lawson. He was 9 for 26 at the free throw line, so history is not on his side.
But he does have 2 shots. Xavier, of course, has been in the double bonus for a while.
Whole new free throw shooter this year. To make it a 3-point game. Offensive rebound, no. Wave off the shot. Foul was on the floor. And I think it's on DJ Bird. Going for the rebound. They're going to get DJ Bird for a push in the pass.
Bird working really hard.
Oh.
You know, that was really interesting. He and Isaiah Philmore had their arms locked together. And I'm not so sure that Philmore didn't lose his balance and pull Bird down.
So we'll head the other way.
And Matt Painter's upset. He says that's not the guy who's supposed to shoot the free throw. Now, where's D. Davis in all of this? Davis got knocked down, but I think Philmore is the guy who got pulled down. Tom Eads is going to go over and take a look because you're allowed to go over and look and see who the free throw shooter is, but I think he's going to decide that it's that guy right there, Isaiah Philmore.
Now, D. Davis on the year shoots 81% at the free throw line. Philmore is just 2 for 4.
Right in the middle of your screen, there's the two guys going down, and that's a tough foul call on DJ Bird. And D. Davis did fall in there on top of the pile, but that wasn't the foul call. They're trying to get him back out there now.
Well, no matter who they send to the free throw line, it's going to be a 1-and-1. That was the 9th team foul on Purdue.
Oh, it is going to be Davis. Okay, never mind.
.81% free thrower. Davis hits the first. He'll have another. Lead is back up to a half dozen. Throws it up and in. Timeout, 17 seconds remaining. The GMC Professional Grade Player of the Game. How about the freshman, Semaj Christon? He was terrific right at the beginning of this game.
And what he does is with that very quick first step, he can get the ball to the basket, and then we mentioned he's got the power where he can finish inside. And this three-point basket was a big one in the game. That's not normally part of his arsenal. Only 2 for 7 from beyond the arc this year, but he has done a little bit of everything. Not only those 23 points, he also has 4 assists. He's got a couple of rebounds. And this is a freshman coming into a very difficult Big Ten environment.
So Purdue, 1 timeout remaining. Xavier, 1 timeout remaining. Purdue can't be picky. They're just going to have to whack someone the minute this ball is inbounded.
Well, what you'd like to do is force Philmore to catch the ball inside and then foul him. He's only a 66% free throw shooter.
Brad Redford, 5th-year senior, is going to inbound it. And Davis, who just made a pair a moment ago, is going to shoot 2 free throws. This is now a double bonus, so 2 free throws the rest of the way for both sides.
And the interesting thing about D. Davis, we have documented that he has struggled during this game today. He came in as the leading scorer. He's only made 1 for 8 from the field. He's turned the ball over a couple times, but here he is at the end of the game with the opportunity to make a difference from the free throw line, make an impact.
Davis 1 for 9 shooting. He's got 5 points, made 2 free throws just a moment ago. Former high school teammate with Jordan Hulse down at Bloomington South High School, won a couple of state titles at Bloomington South.
Hot air coming from that section behind the basket seems to blow the ball off course. It has been a great crowd in here today. I think they've been really enthusiastic.
Misses them both. Finally picked up by Ronnie Johnson. Gonna have to hurry. Blocked. It'll stay with Purdue. Running out of time. Bird's gonna have to chuck it up there. And it hits the back of the stanchion. Xavier basketball. That's a legit block. Landon Amos made that block. Hadn't played all game long, Dan.
Well, they put him in the game for that specific purpose, to play defense. That might get you a couple more minutes on the court. You do exactly what the coach tells you. You run down, you block a shot.
So, Xavier on top by 4. They've got the ball. Just 3.7 remaining. After our game, we've got Northern Kentucky taking on Ohio State, and we'll have Coppin State and Indiana. Later on tonight, that's at 7:30 Eastern time. The #1 ranked team in the country in Indiana taking on Coppin State.
It'll be interesting to see how Ohio State reacts after a very tough loss the other night at Duke. That's a very difficult place to play, and Ohio State, you know, they played really well in the first half, but a lot of teams struggle in the second half down at Duke. And then, of course, Indiana, they've been the #1 team in the country all year long, and they've played like it all year long.
Now 14,000 fans here have seen a good one, but it appears as if Xavier, they've got a real good chance of winning for the 5th consecutive time against Purdue. And it's not just Purdue that they dominate among Big Ten teams. Folks, this is going to be the 7th straight win versus any Big Ten team for Xavier since the beginning of the 2007 season.
And one of the things that means is that Chris Mack is not afraid to go out and play people. And Sean Miller before him.
Christon will go to the line and shoot 2 with 2.8 remaining.
And it's only December, but this is one of those wins that at the end of the year, Xavier can point to and say, look, we won against a Big Ten team on the road. You build your non-conference RPI in November and December.
And with that miss from half court, that means that Purdue goes an entire game without making a 3-point shot. They finished 0 for 17 from behind the arc.
It's hard to win when you don't make any out of 17.
All right, that's going to do it. You saw the final score. It is going to be a win for Xavier on the road against Purdue. Coming up, it's more Big Ten hoops action. Northern Kentucky takes on Ohio State. But first, we'll send you to our Chicago studios. For my partner, Dan Bonner, I'm Eric